perspective in, one day you gonna come in and be like on the show and give your
You're alive.
perspective. Oh,
Now you good.
okay.
Yeah,
You good.
yeah. I think it's important for us to have a female and male perspective on these issues. Oh, we are live. Coffee and conversation. All right.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning,
Grand
everyone.
Rising. Shalom. Peace. Peace. Everyone.
Grand
Welcome to
Rising.
Coffee and Conversation with Chosen, co-hosting with High Priestess. And special guest today, the founder and producer of the Ring of Fire, The Fire.
All right. So I think our first topic is going to be Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl, how we think it went, and Trump's response to, what was pretty much seen as racism by the entire country. So we even had African Americans saying that they felt that other African Americans that were anti Bad Bunny because they were speaking Spanish. Even African Americans said, I don't really like that. I don't like that you're being antagonistic, because they felt a lot of people felt that last year when we had Kendrick Lamar, that a lot of white people said, well, we don't like that. So for our people to be saying, oh, we don't like that they're speaking Spanish, is kind of similar. A lot of people had that thrown around. What do you guys think about that?
Well, my concern is I've never heard of Bad Bunny until it was brought up regarding the Super Bowl, and the direct conversation is I overheard two gentlemen talking about it that were planning on watching the Super Bowl and that has watched the Super Bowl every year probably since they were children. The conversation was, man, you see who they got performing at the halftime, man. Now I ain't supporting that man. That man into that fruity stuff, man. He gon' so I didn't know about Bad Bunny, and because of that, maybe it was a little bit he was a little bit premature. Maybe my issue would have been to have somebody more seasoned on the halftime.
And I can agree with that, because I'll be honest with you, honey, I did not know who he was either. I'm not even gonna front and lie that I think if there's an issue, it's that who was Bad Bunny before the Super Bowl, because up until the Super Bowl, I had never heard of him. You're right.
You didn't either?
Me as well. I never heard of Bad Bunny.
See?
Up until Super Bowl.
So if you're going to have an issue, let's have an issue of, well, who is this person? I mean, I get that the reason it was done is probably to create controversy. Let's be honest, because they could have chosen anybody else that we knew. Like Kendrick Lamar, when he came out, he has had album after album after album that for me, I loved. So when he came last year, I was super excited. Then we had Beyonce come one year, seasoned. Bad Bunny, I had never heard one song.
I hadn't either.
All right. So the
It
verdict is
has
in.
something to do with the agenda concerning ICE. And
That's what I'm saying. It was controversy.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily this person is so talented, you know, they're going to blow away everybody. It wasn't like that. It was more, well, with everything going on, let's have the controversy. But maybe we needed that with because one of our next topics is the ICE shooting right after this.
Okay, exactly. So it okay, that part. It seems a little bit premeditated, considering that we do have this uproar with ICE, and then we get an unknown artist that is of the Latino race and performs at the Super Bowl. So was this a bait, you know, rage bait,
I
or
oh
was
oh
this?
my gosh, you used the perfect word, hon. Yeah, I think it was. I
I
think I think it was.
I don't want to exclude the fact that the concern was not with the people that he was of a different race, but that they thought he was homosexual. So that was an issue for some of the people.
Oh,
So
I
the
didn't know that.
redlining, yeah, that's what they thought, that he was homosexual. So that was not supposed to be in a man's game.
Oh,
And he's performing at the halftime. That's what the controversy was. Not so much of his race, and because he's Latino, because I think a lot of them, Black Americans, embrace the Latino race as part of them in their own. So for Black America, I think their issue was that he was homosexual. White America could have been the fact that he was um, Latino.
well, here's what I'm gonna say. When our people have been dealing with all of the shootings that we have dealt with, all of the police abuse that we have dealt with, it has felt very good for us to have people like Kendrick Lamar come up and have songs about us, about supporting us, some of the issues that we go through, and empowering us. And so, I guess for the Latino community, regardless of whether he was gay or not, I think that it was important to support the cause. That's just my opinion. I'm a social justice warrior. I'm very I'm an activist, and I could see why they would want somebody that was from the Latina community to uh, perform. But getting into our next topic of the ICE shootings, we have seen that whether you are African, or whether you are Asian, or whether you are Indian, or whether you are Hispanic, you can be a target. Even white Americans, there one of the shootings was of a white man. So by ICE. So I feel like that definitely was a support in the cause of what's happening in that situation. Um, and what do you guys think about ICE just raiding people? You know, we talked about the fact that neighbors are calling on neighbors, like, you know, I don't like my neighbor, and I'm just going to call on them, and ICE is breaking down their door. They don't fix it. They don't clean up your home after raids. People have to pay for this. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. We would be very upset if somebody just raided our whole house, knocked down our door. How are we going to fix it? And we were legal citizens, which is the case in most of these raids. So, well, a good majority of them. I won't say most. I'll say a good majority of them. So I kind of am wondering if that performance, I don't know if that was like a #1 hit he had. I'm not really sure, because there are plenty of Hispanic artists that are seasoned. I mean, we said that's what our personal issue was, that everybody we've known before was seasoned. Um, so I'm sure there was a lot more other options they could have chosen from, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
Um,
maybe this is some type of way to draw back in Americans and diffuse the tension between ICE and the people, to
and
give
see,
them like
yeah,
a warm feeling about it, kind of
yeah.
change the narrative. We're pushing for everyone to be all inclusive. The Latino race is now performing at the Super Bowl. And let me find out if any Latinos have ever performed at the Super Bowl.
I would love to know that. Great job. Yeah.
I would imagine because of the stigma. Okay, yes. Several Latino artists because
Yeah.
Mexico is a part of the United States and so is New Mexico. So it wouldn't be a reason they should be excluded. But
Did,
several
did Pit
Latino artists have performed. Go ahead.
did Pitbull did he perform there
Hmm.
Pitbull.
from
You know,
Mm,
I would think they would
that was
fall on.
Bruno Mars.
on Mars? Okay.
What about J Lo?
So we got Gloria Stefan,
Okay, love her.
Arturo Sandoval, and Miami Sound Machine. That was in 1995. That was jazz, like jazz. Then you had Christina Aguilera,
I was looking for
uh,
that. I was looking for that.
Ecuadorian. She's Ecuadorian.
Yes, Ecuadorian, and I was looking for also J Lo. J Lo never performed.
No.
Yeah, she the let me see. In Super
Oh
Bowl
yeah, Shakira.
in
Mm-hmm.
2020, yeah.
Shakira as
Jennifer
well.
Lopez and Shakira with Bad Bunny as a guest.
So
Was
this
it?
is not new. We're new to Bad Bunny. This is
Oh,
interesting.
so okay. You know, I got to be honest. I listen to Spotify more than I do. I don't listen to the radio. You know, we have this Spotify now, we have YouTube, we have Apple Music, and sometimes if you don't listen to the radio, some of these artists get by us. So maybe that's the fault of our own. Maybe Bad Bunny is T. I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
So you guys had no comments on the ICE shootings?
Yeah, give me let's see. Okay.
Okay, Ice.
Considering the way us three look, and we all look ambiguous, if I'm being honest, all three of us. So that ambiguous would mean I cannot place you. We all look like we could maybe pass for Hispanic, maybe indigenous, maybe I've gotten Hawaiian and Asian. So it's just we
You
we
know,
we could be a target.
you making me nervous. Because a few times I have marked Latino race on my applications just to see what would happen because there was only two categories, non-Latino and of Latino. And then you have your subcategories, Black, African American, white, um, uh, African, or whatever else race. But the only two primary were Latino. So now I'm nervous, like, if they're going to track that application, it's coming back for me.
Well, hopefully you're not arguing with your neighbor right now. It's a tough time to argue with neighbors. Let's be nice to our neighbors, okay?
So they're able to identify you by your color, or how
No, they
is ICE
identify
able
you.
to?
The neighbors are reporting to ICE. So they're identifying you by the way you look. They're just guessing. And immigrants can come from Europe, they can come from Asia, they can come from Africa, because these are the people being targeted. Um, you know, and people can say, oh, well, white people aren't a target. Well, that's not true, because one of the latest killings of ICE was a white male that was a nurse. And he was murdered.
Now ambiguous, the definition is unclear or having more than one possible meaning.
Right. Meaning we look ambiguous. You can't really place us. So say we had a Karen neighbor, or we did get in an argument with our neighbor, like some people were reporting their neighbors just didn't like them. And then they had one that thought it was funny. They thought it was kind of like a prank to see what would happen. It was like teenagers or something, and they reported on their neighbor, got their door kicked in. And it's just like, this is getting out of control to me. I've never seen anything like it. I mean,
You saying when people can't easily place someone into a racial category based on appearance?
right. That's ambiguous. And people that are ambiguous, they either struggle with people fetishizing them, or they struggle with people of all kinds being racial towards them, because if that person doesn't like Hispanics, they're going to think you're Hispanic. If they don't like indigenous people, they're going to think you're indigenous. If they don't like African American people, they're going to think you're African American or just African. And see, this is where people clouded with prejudice could affect us. And that's why people, like in our next topic, it's kind of segueing in how Don Lemon went into the church with the protesters doing journalism. We talked about this before, but we'll reiterate it on the podcast that Don Lemon does now. He left CNN after like 20 years, and he is now having his own podcast here on this platform. And he decided to support the protesters that were going in the church. And the church that he went into were a lot of privileged people. And he just was simply asking them, if you're supporting the Most High, if you're supporting God, how can you know that right outside this church, someone was murdered by our government, and you're in here talking about everything and you're supposed to be representing the Most High? So, I mean, I can understand. What do you guys think about that perspective?
Now the former CNN anchor Don Lemon, he's pleaded not guilty in federal court in St. Paul, Minnesota on February the 13th.
He says he was doing journalism, and that when it is a right of freedom of speech to do journalism here in America, so he feels that he should not be prosecuted because he was reporting on the protest. The protesters, they went up in the church. They said, if you're supporting the Most High, if you're supporting God, how can you sit here a few feet outside of an area where a man was murdered by our government, and you guys don't think the Most High cares about that? You think he would rather you be in here privileged with, all this money and not doing anything about our government murdering somebody in cold blood? Very close to this church. Do you think he was doing journalism covering the protest? I mean, I think that protest deserved to be publicized. Do I think they should have went up in the church? I don't really know about that. They could have protested outside. They didn't have to rush into the church during service. I could understand, freedom of religion, because that's the case, that we have freedom of religion. Just like Don Lemon is saying we have freedom of speech, we as Americans have freedom of religion, to practice religion without, isn't that the beauty of our country? That we can speak different languages and not be persecuted. We can protest and hopefully not be persecuted, because if you ask us, it didn't go so well in the past. But we're supposed to be able to have freedom of speech. But does it cross the line into freedom of religion? What if you went to that church? I will say the issue with the protesters was that it was an all privileged, very privileged, with money, all white church.
Okay, so I'm just now privy to Don Lemon. I kind of steer away from um the news. Every now and then I'll catch up on world topics, but I'm only one person. I can't change anything. So it says he was fired from CNN April 23rd. Now, is he a melanated or ethnic man?
He is an African American man.
Okay. So the intent or the context might change based on that. So CNN announced it had ended its relationship with Don Lemon after a series of intentional controversies. Lemon said he was terminated without warning on CNN. CNN said the decision followed discussions. Okay, so public controversy accelerated the exit. Oh, because the public got involved, it accelerated him getting fired quickly. On air, comments about women in age, widely criticized as sexist.
Uh-oh.
So, what is freedom of speech when you don't have the freedom to speak? And that, it started with comedians a while back. Comedy started getting offensive. And so the comedians were running dry because you couldn't joke about the oddest or offset things. And that's what made comedy funny, to say the things that people would never say in their lives normally. And so once that had cut away from comedy, comedians knew that now we have no more freedom of speech. So what is freedom of speech if you're not freely allowed to offend someone based on your perspective?
But here's where Americans got upset, and highly upset, was that they felt that freedom of speech was impinging on freedom of religion. Because you run up in the church, you run up in the church house, it might cause some problems, and it did.
Who ran into the church house?
This was ICE protesters, and Don Lemon went with them.
Oh, okay. Let's read on. Okay, this is
this is juicy now, and it's very controversial because freedom of what's more important to us, freedom of religion, and we are a very spiritual group here. So what's more important, freedom of religion or freedom of speech? Because to me, they're both very important.
There is no religion if you don't have freedom of speech. Because you have to be freely to speak who is your God or who is your creator, or how you define your spirituality. And so that has to be spoken. It can be in a nonverbal. That's something to think about. Should religion be kept nonverbal and practiced only physically?
What? Babe, how are preachers going to preach?
That's the key. You don't preach. Because the power has there's the power of life and death is in the tongue. And by man not being
you cut right
guaranteed to be perfect or righteous, it's a possibility they may use it for their own intent. So it's a question. Should religion be nonverbal so that it doesn't offend anybody? Because then you would just practice how you practice in your own space physically.
Girl, now you're taking away the church house now. And I'm not even a church person, but I can say how it will be very controversial for you to tell churchgoers, ain't no speaking about it. Because what about the priest? What about the preachers? What about the ministers? People are going to have a problem with that statement.
It was not that controversial, was it? When Paul was telling women not to speak in the church, that was really controversial. But now that we ask nobody to speak in the church and just be there and pray to yourselves and feel, this is something to think about. And I think
It
now
is.
that I think about it, it may be a profound idea that you're going to deem religion nonverbal. You are not allowed to speak on religion.
This is controversial because what about, you're saying no ministers now? You know that, right? They got a minister to be in the church. It's quiet service.
Well, the intent would only be to and since it's Sunday, diving into spirituality, the intent would be just to praise and give thanks and praises, because anything else, it's left up to the individual to determine how they're perceiving it. And we can't always determine that what you are saying out of your mouth, I'm perceiving it in the way that you're delivering it. So it may be the cause of certain wars and religious wars and spiritual wars and battles, because it said it was written, not spoken. Come on, somebody. Let me take a sip of that coffee.
Now, I need Fire to comment on this, because Fire has a platform on speaking his opinion about spirituality. So now you're telling Fire here, and we're getting juicy here, because now you're telling Fire, slow down, Fire, practice in your home.
Well, I mean, let's just use, that as an example in the responses that you get. People get offended. You see what I'm saying? And because they feel as though it's supposed to be their way, they can speak that verbally now. Now that I've let you know what it is, now you can attack and work against me. Because and this is very interesting, because a lot of people don't listen. They don't listen. They'll automatically assume that because I understand what is written, then they go to their mind. This is all about the perception. This is why maybe it'll work, because their ears only tune in to what they want to hear. And so you didn't hear me ever say that my stance is, let's just say I'm a Muslim. You never heard me say that I'm not spiritual and a good person because I'm a Muslim, but you attached how you feel about being Muslim with me and associate it and say, because I'm not a Christian, I'm not going to heaven. But in your world, you feel as though you are in the right religion. Now you two are speaking this and going back and forth in a war. You assume that because I practice this faith, this means that I don't believe this, because people have selective hearing and they don't hear all of it. And then it's like, I never say that I don't believe or I don't know that there's a God, but I know what the scripture says about X, Y, and Z. And so some people miss when you say things. Half of the people be in church thinking about other things, getting home and getting to their lover.
And Chosen, let's not forget about the people in church talking about Miss Tina's outfit and and her hairdo. Because when I went to Grandma's church back in the day, Grandma was like, "Did you see what Delma had on her head?" Talking about Delma threw on a wig that day, and she just couldn't believe it was that one. So I'm just saying.
Now I'm understanding, because see, the thing about freedom, right? We're going back to freedom of speech. You have to give up a little bit of your liberties in order to have your freedom. That means that in order for me to be safe in this world and free in this world, I have to give up a few things for the sake of everybody to be safe. So I may not have the right to just say, hell, like go to per se.
Yeah.
But I have the right to say it within my own home, but not nobody else, so that I can protect my freedom of being safe in the world. So we're not allowed to just go and bop each other over the head because if something happens when we want to, now we have a set standard of laws and commandments that we have to follow for the freedom, a little bit of freedom. You don't get it all, but you get a little bit of it because you share the space with everybody else. And so everybody else have their freedoms, and to be able to give the whole society the liberty to practice in their own space, you have to take away some of the freedom as well. And so some of that may be speech to not offend so that you don't be attacked or
Honey, let's get real, Chosen. People are going to attack based off of their prejudices and the unknowing. People fear what they do not understand. People will attack Muslims for being terrorists, which is so ugly. People will attack certain Christians for that. Some of us that are spiritual may attack people that are Christians for different reasons, maybe the way they grew up, maybe this or that. Everything is perspective. Also, people that are religious often attack spiritual people, and it all goes with prejudice or really ignorance, because when it's ignorance, it just means you don't know, and you're scared of it because you don't know.
now, is that prejudice innate, or is it developed over a certain amount of time because of the things that were written?
Don't you think a lot of people are prejudiced because of what they hear growing up and stuff? You know, they hear it from their parents and then they repeat it. And because they don't want to do their own due diligence of finding out, they stay fearful instead of finding out.
How did they get to that point? Where did that start from for someone to say? Because if I hadn't have never heard that, you were once slaves and you were the chosen children of the Most High, we would just coexist because we have to toil the land together. But now that we have something that is written that separates us, now we start to develop this identity psychologically, subconsciously, and authorizes us to protrude it out because it was written. Because who knew what racism or prejudices was before? Well, the action, possibly. Well, no, because how would you know before mirrors? How would you know that you didn't look like them? Mm-hmm.
Well, because the other person still looks at you, hon, and they otherize.
Yeah, but would you know that you don't look like them because you don't see yourself? I'm saying back in those times.
Oh, I gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Would a person really have known that we were different? That's why you can't see yourself. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, you would have known.
I just think we look at each other.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out how would prejudices and these biases start? Is it something innate in us just to
I think we otherize, hon. I do. I think we otherize. I think that even if we didn't have mirrors, we would look at our skin and ourself, and we would say, oh, you're a lot lighter than me, or oh, you're a lot darker than me, or oh, you're a lot fatter than me, oh, you're a lot skinnier than me, whatever. The prejudice is. You don't look like my mother. When you stand beside my mother, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying this is how people would take it. They would say,
Mm,
well, you standing
mm,
beside my mother, you look so different than her.
mm,
You get what I'm saying? There would be some innate, and I think this is where people get fear from. It's like, well, I didn't grow up in a home that looked like you. If you grow up in a multicultural home, it's different. But when you grow up with a home where everyone looks like you, everyone acts like you, everyone thinks like you naturally, and this is just my opinion, you naturally otherize people. And unless you're willing to hang out with other people and get to know them and realize, wow, we really aren't that different, then you just don't. Just like I've heard men say when they went to the military,
mm.
they worked with people that were all different races, and they worked with both sexes. And that they would say, you know how I heard a racist guy say, you know how what cured my racism? When there was nobody out there but me and my buddy, and his buddy was African American, he was white, and he saved my life in battle. And he said that, and of course, after that, they talked about everything. They got to know each other. They found out about each other's families, and they were best friends. But unless you're willing to go out there and have experiences where you're not closed mind, and of course, that's a situation where you're forced, like someone's saving your life or they're not. You really have to rely on somebody when you go out there to war to have your back. And some of us know we can't even rely on some people that are close to us to have our back just in everyday life, much less in war, you know? So that's a very powerful experience. But unless you're willing to have other experiences with different cultures, I think it's kind of up to you to grow. And not everybody wants to do that. Some people are comfortable with what they know, and that's it.
Mm. So
Especially if their parents taught them to be that way.
it says here no prejudice existed before organized religion. But religion, like politics, has sometimes been used to justify it.
KKK, for example, was a Christian organization.
That had to, I guess, for it to become an action. I think some of it was authorized by the start of picking a chosen people.
Well, everybody thinks they're the chosen people. That's the problem.
And that's why there's a start of prejudices and divide and racism. Because what's the reason someone, what would have been the reason that you enslaved or discriminated?
I'm cold.
Even if, let's say, even if you knew, per se, that I did things smarter in or better in inputting things, and you were better at outputting them, meaning you can jump faster, you can run, you're bigger, but I can write these things down to tell you how to do it, and you only can do it really, really good. I can make it really, really good and put it in action. Who's to say that we wouldn't have never just coexisted and combined those two to level it out and be cohesive? If not, one had read and inscribed and said there was a chosen people by the creator that must have started, to me, have to have started the line of prejudice and racism, because here you're now discriminating against another group of people.
And this is where I just honestly feel that people otherize. People have always otherized, And I think they always will, unfortunately. Whether you're man and woman, or you're a different religion, or you are different orientations, or you're different otherize. I think that we do that when we are not in those categories, even sometimes by accident, or ignorance, or stupidity.
I'm so solid on the notion that once that was in the script, is that a cat? Oh, wow. Two of them. Or a squirrel. Wow. That when the script got passed around, I'm hmm, hmm, hmm. So maybe then the first form of otherwise was male and female.
Yeah. A lot of people have a problem with you taking Eve from Adam's rib. Let's be honest. They don't like the notion.
No matter whose rib it's taken from, it's still going to be a bias between one or the other.
You're right.
So
absolutely,
if I'm not taking you from either one of the ribs, but made you both individually at the same time.
Oh, I heard my birds.
That's a thought. Mm.
Well, honey, we got Nicki Minaj and Trump. We got Nicki Minaj wanting a green card. We got Trump giving her one at the White House, only for her to show up and show out, and leave and realize it was a fake green card.
You know, this. You can have this one. The media thing and the characters and actors and actresses in the media, it just blows my mind. Some of the stuff that's in there, like how does Nicki Minaj and the president, nothing's separated anymore. There was a hierarchy at one point and a respect for that level of seniority and hierarchy. Now it's like we have it's just this one. The media is funny because now we have Nicki Minaj, a artist, and not one of that of seasoned artists. She's just a fairly new artist. I mean, she was significant, I guess, in the new wave of internet.
She's significant at this moment because she's been publicly urging her fans to support the SAVE Act, a controversial election bill backed by Trump. That's one
really? Okay, so what is it called, hon? The SAVE Act?
The SAVE Act.
All right, I'm about to do a little Google. Let's find out about this because that's new to me, Fire. Good call on that. All right, the SAVE Act.
Okay. All tying in with ICE.
It is?
Going back.
So that's why she wanted a green card. Okay.
Relatively with this, I guess this is real prevalent right now, citizenship and who's authorized to be in this land, because it was usually referred to as Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. Its stated purpose is to prevent non-citizens from voting in federal elections. Well, I mean, half of their cabinet is foreign.
And a lot of people believe that There was a lot of votes that were kind of misconstrued with this presidency. So for them to harp on it being fair now, when it didn't seem like the election was all that fair, this is very interesting. So this is all about voting, huh?
Yes, it's going to require citizens to prove their U.S. citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections.
Wow.
Because under the current federal law, you must be a U.S. citizen to vote, but most states don't require documentary proof of citizenship to register. The SAVE Act changed that by making proof of citizenship mandatory before someone's voter registration is accepted.
Okay, so a form of photo identification consistent with the Real ID Act. Oh my gosh, the line is so long to be able to get my real ID. This is really frustrating because the line is so long. It's hard to get an appointment
Mm.
to get your real ID. And then if you're traveling without a real ID and you get stopped out of your state, it can become a major issue. You also can't fly without a real ID. So a real ID, a valid US passport, or a military identification card coupled with a military service record showing the applicant's place of birth was in the United States. For a valid government issued photo identification card from a federal, state, or tribal government showing the applicant's place of birth was in the United States. Apart from passports, most government issued forms of identification do not list places of birth, instead merely listing current residence, which we know that. A valid form of photo identification. Okay, birth certificate, hospital record of birth, adoption decree. Oh my gosh. Report of birth issued by Secretary of State.
Now, the backlash is that this is going to disenfranchise eligible voters. Millions of eligible citizens don't have a passport, birth certificate, or document listed, including married women, naturalized citizens who don't carry papers, and low income and rural voters. Some minority communities, research suggests that up to 10 million citizens may lack immediate access to these documents.
Married women feel like they are the target of this the most. That's what I've heard. Married women has been the hardest hit. And we know that most people that vote, because there's more women than men, are going to be women. So for you to say a good portion of the country, 2/3, may not be able to vote. And I'm not married, but I do not have a real ID, and it's very hard to get one right now. The waiting line is huge. It's very hard to find an appointment as well at the DMV because you have to have an appointment. It's not something you can do online. It's not, it's not a simple thing. You have to go to the DMV, have an appointment, have all your documents, or they send you away. Because when I went, they were sending people away like crazy. If you don't have it then and there, everything that you need, they send you away, appointment or not. So, yeah, that's a good point, Fire, with the married women, because that's what I've heard the most about.
Now, right now, the Save Act 2026 is been revised. It's called the Save America Act. It passed the House of Representatives with mostly GOP support. It now faces the Senate, where its future is uncertain, partly because the Senate's filibuster rules are and political opposition.
Hmm.
Well, this is definitely going to affect me. How about you guys?
I have a driver's license.
Is it a real ID though?
It's a driver's license given
Oh,
to me
real.
at the
Okay, we talking
DMV.
about real.
Given given
You
to you
said
what?
what?
Given to me at the DMV. I
Mind
have.
you, that doesn't count anymore.
Who said?
The new rules are on the SAVE Act is that it has to say real ID. These are brand new IDs that they're requiring you to have in order to get on a plane, in order to go out of state, to drive out of state. And it's a new ID that they just started this year. It's called the real ID. I have a regular driver's license. That does
Right.
not count.
The driver's license under the SAVE Act. Um, the short answer, no, not by itself. The standard driver's license is only going to confirm the identity and confirm residency, but it's not going to confirm your U.S. citizenship. And the SAVE Act requires documentary proof of
Right.
citizenship, not just identity.
So we need our birth certificates. I don't have a passport. I need to get one.
Okay. Now, what this act is going to require, it's going to require a U.S. passport, birth certificate, naturalization certificate, enhanced ID that explicitly confirms citizenship.
Okay, this is a problem.
Now, if that's not for all Americans, right? That's
Yeah,
only for people who are
everybody, every citizen.
no, meaning the SAVE Act is only for people who are not citizens.
Yeah, but it affects all of us because now all of us Americans, all of us need to have all these requirements to show and prove that we are American citizens. I used to just be able to walk up and vote. Sometimes they asked for my ID, sometimes they didn't.
Well, okay, so the real ID is to board domestic flights, federal buildings, and military bases.
You need it to go in the post office now, a real ID, thanks to your presence.
Does it say post office?
But when
Yeah,
the SAVE Act,
that's
when
a
the
state.
when the SAVE Act does pass, it going to apply to all U.S. citizens registering to vote in federal elections. This only going to apply to people who are going to who want to vote in federal election. That means first time voters, people who move to a new state and re-register, people updating registration information. It would not apply to non-citizens. They are already prohibited from voting in federal elections. It will not apply for people not registering. Already registered voters may not need to reprove unless they change information. Depends on the final implementation of the SAVE Act. Because not all Americans have easy access to proof documents. And roughly
It
half
says here, go ahead.
So I'm thinking they want majority of these people registering to vote. Federal voters, they want you to have all documentation so they can know that you are a citizen of the United States of America.
Okay, so it says this is where confusion is happening. Real ID, travel, and federal access. SAVE Act is for voting eligibility only. Identity verification under Real ID. The SAVE Act requires citizenship proof. You only need identity verification with the Real ID. The SAVE Act is proposed and contested. It's an election law explicitly about voting. So the Real ID was passed in 2005. It's DHS administered, and that's the Department of Human Services. Oh, or Department of Homeland Security. Which one is it? Which DHS is that? Okay. I was told not to. Yeah, you didn't need a real ID.
Honey, you're talking about for this, the Department of Homeland.
You've got mail. You've got mail.
So you're getting the real ID from the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah, but you have to do it at the DMV. You have to make an appointment. At least here, you have to make an appointment, and it could take quite a while. There's a long line for it because they have to do an interview, and you have to make sure you have every document that you require. Otherwise, they just send you on your way back home. And I'm more worried about it for as like, because to travel you need it, to board a plane, to get into certain buildings in America you need it. I'm more worried about it for stuff like that, because it's just a nuisance to have to do this suddenly. Especially if we're only gonna especially if we're gonna need it to travel.
I check to see if I have a real ID. I think I did because if I've traveled on a plane recently with my ID, and I'm not sure if it's considered a real ID or not, but
It'll say it on there.
Sorry, where it is. No, it doesn't say.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would think you would know if you had one because it's quite a new thing that they're making people do, and
Is it going to say new ID on it?
it's gonna say real ID.
I mean, real, real ID.
Yeah.
Okay, no, then you don't need a real ID to travel.
Huh.
Unless this, let me check and see.
It just said on the site that you would need it to board planes and stuff. I don't know about trains, but it did say planes.
I think this might be the real ID then.
Unless you just got, because maybe they haven't enacted the plane part yet. Maybe maybe there's a certain time it's enacting. Maybe they're trying to give people time to get one. Because this was just passed at the beginning of the year. Or no,
oh my goodness. Oh Lord have mercy. I have a real ID. Help me. Oh,
you do?
How did this happen? Okay, so it says the key visual marker real ID has a gold or black star at the top of the card.
That's right. Okay, so
no, well, mine isn't gold. Hold on. Let me see.
It has a star, hun. Look for the
star. It
star.
has a star, but it's not gold. It's no color, but the state of it is gold.
Yeah, that's normal. That's for everybody.
Okay, so then the star is not gold, but the state is gold. But the star is, let me see if I could.
Don't show your ID on here, honey.
No, I don't. It's not gonna, okay. So can you see this part here? That's the star, but it's not gold. It's just in there. So is that the same thing?
I have no idea, hun.
No, it's not gold and it's not black.
I thought it was black.
It says a gold or black star at the top of the card. this star indicates the card meets federal standards. It's usually in the upper right-hand corner. Some states, use a hollow star, some a solid star, but the presence of a star is the official marker. OMG.
Is this a
I have a
recent?
real ID.
You got it within the
Say,
last year?
I've had this for some time. I did a real ID. Oh my goodness.
Fire, do you have a real ID? No, he said he had an ID. Just like
Yeah,
a driver's license.
this is the real ID
I
because
got
it's
driver's license.
I
Me
remember
too.
filling out for that and at one point.
Wow, good for you. That's how you got on the plane. Well, this is an interesting time in America.
Mm-hmm.
We still didn't talk about what we felt. Well, we kind of did talk about what we felt about Nicki Minaj. But, you know, when you think about it, presidents have been having artists come and support them for a long time. Even Obama had that.
But
Didn't he have Kanye?
Well, you have to understand the pardons. What's going on, Black? You have to understand the pardons that Trump gave out with Kodak Black, Lil Wayne, and things like that. So he's connected to the hip hop industry. What's really strange here is that I should appreciate what's really strange is that Nicki Minaj is a Trinidadian born American. So she's born in Trinidad. I'm not mistaken.
But doesn't she have her American citizenship?
I don't know.
People were gathering to have her deported, and that's why Trump had her come into the office. People boycotted her because she was supporting Trump, which I don't think is right. Whether I like Trump or not, I don't think it's right for somebody to say you should be deported just because you support this person or that person, especially if they're the president of your country. You're in that case, you're just being well, you're being political, but you're also being supportive of your country. And I don't think we should look down upon that. Because we should all support our country. It is a beautiful, it is a privilege to live in America where we do have freedom of religion and freedom of speech. It's a privilege. I do appreciate those things. So I'm not going to knock our country, whether I like the president or not. So I don't think she should be having people sign petitions to get her deported just because she's supportive of the president. We have freedom of speech.
Well, why are we preventing people from traveling the land?
I'm very upset about it. I don't have a real ID.
It's not that hard to get. I don't know if it's hard to get now, but I didn't go through no measures. I took some mail and
it can't be done that way here. It can't.
Oh.
I don't think it can be done that way anymore because the lines are so long. Because now it's mandatory to travel, so people are backed up.
Oh my God! This is something. Is that the mark? You can't sell or trade without it because you need an ID for everything.
It's affecting everybody. Yes. And my post office required it as a state building. So it is affecting everyone. They require it to go in. So it's kind of a nuisance right now.
I haven't heard good. Wow. Mm.
And I didn't think about the
Um,
vendor.
I
So you mean to
so,
tell me all these vendors in New York have to have those? And I mean,
but this the thing though. They not doing nothing special or different to get your to be a real ID. So it's something else because I didn't go through any grave measures to get that real ID. I
now it's
turned
by
in the same social
appointment
security
only.
card or something. And
Now
I'm
it's by
sure
appointment only though, chosen.
it don't matter the appointment. The problem is that it's not. I'm confused. I didn't do much, anything different than I did to get a regular ID.
But
Besides,
that's not the case now though. Now they're
no, meaning the paperwork required to get a real ID has changed now.
yes, there's a lot more stricter paperwork. And the problem that a lot of people are facing is that they don't have their birth certificates unless they go back to their home state.
I didn't need a birth certificate. It said prove you a lawful resident or a lawful citizen. If you get a social security card or so it is affecting those. It said it affected those who were not born with documents.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
And you know, some people don't have their original birth certificate because their mother doesn't have it. They have to go back to their home states to get it. And so that can put a loophole in it that wasn't there before.
You know, I think of homeless people.
I do
Homeless
too.
people live without the things that we live. Speaking of, so per se, the wilderness. They're in the wilderness, okay?
As we talked about last
They
night.
don't, some of them don't have, I imagine, IDs, and they don't travel and they don't have all these fancy things, but they still live. So my question is there a graver or depth or in-depth reason? I understand, but you can't stop anybody from crossing borders. You really can't do that. That's impossible. You
Well, they're
can't
saying
stop people
what
from
they're
migrating from land to land.
what they're saying is if you're driving across state lines and you get stopped by a trooper, you need a real ID.
You can't stop everybody, though.
Well, if they don't get caught. I'm guessing, I don't know if it's a ticket or I don't know how it works.
Do you think there's more military than there is Americans or people?
No.
Okay, so they can't stop everybody. I don't think it's necessarily I guess for again certain freedoms cause for you to lose certain liberties. So to not have just mass chaos, as I think once before, when man was lawless, we had to form some type of system that would help govern and guide the people. I want to know more in depth. What is the real separation between an ID and a real ID? What is that really is doing to the people or for the people? I don't think it's just about crossing borders.
Really, it's about voter suppression. Let's get down to the real issue here. It's about voter suppression.
Okay, so voters don't pick the president anyway. The electoral college does beforehand. There's voters get to determine the popular vote, which is who the people want. It's like a game show.
Not
And
again.
let's see who wins. Because I've never known us to really choose the president by our votes. Do we? Or does the 12 or 9 electoral colleges choosing?
Yeah, but that's based off of votes, right?
The electoral college votes based on who votes on them? I mean, who votes for
It's like
them?
they
Oh, okay. So the people vote for
they vote in their states and it turns into electoral college.
okay, and then the electoral college pick the president. That the majority.
If it was, the whole thing would have been,
Huh.
like, give us something. No,
Yeah. Yeah, so major issue. And then we have one last topic, which is spirit. One of my favorite topics. And the importance of spirit. Earlier we were talking about how it's important for us to know certain things about spirit and how women are naturally more connected to spirit, and how the relationship, the bond between a man and a woman comes with women being very spiritual, whether they're religious or not. And how important it is for the masculine to connect with a spiritual woman so that he can teach her, because men are more left-brained, which is the logical. Women are more right-brained, which is the creative side. And that is what is naturally allowing them to be more connected to metaphors, the spirit. And so in that sense, when they come together, the man can teach more of the literal aspect of the Most High, and women can teach more of the spiritual side of the Most High. And
Well,
together,
how would scientists know how that left and right side of the brain works without being the brain?
well, it's been studied that men use the left side of their brain more and women use the right side. And the right side is the creative side, and the
But
left.
how do they do that study? How do when they put the TENS unit to you and the stenograph moves? Is that based on what are they doing to make the stenograph move when they do the study to determine what side is it response, action to reaction,
The left side of the brain
reaction to
firing off.
action?
The left side of the brain. Like if I were to ask you a question, Chosen, if you were a man, the left side of your brain would fire off while you were thinking. And if
So
you
the needle would move when it's plugged up to the left side of your brain.
more so,
And the one on the right side wouldn't move as much.
as much, yeah. And with women, the right side is going to move more. And we still are logical creatures. That's where balance comes in a human. If you're a very balanced human, you're going to fire off on both sides. But naturally, for men, it's the left, and for women, it's the right. But if you're a
I
balanced
don't know if
person,
we can truly define that as absolute. Based on the fact that you can't really define what the brain is or what the mind is currently thinking at that time to make it respond in that on that side, to say that this is the creative side of females, because women did not create and architect these buildings, churches, and courthouses and things. Men created those.
That's
So where is
logical.
it? The,
That's logical. That's mathematics. Architecture is mathematics. Women, maybe they could, uh, maybe they could. I would think women. See, I would think women would make good architects because we're creative. But I guess it's more about math and the logical when it comes to engineering and architectural work. I guess.
I have to disagree. I think women are more logical, men are more creative. They always want to build something. They always want to take something apart and fix it and undo it and add to it. Women just do what is necessary. Uh well, we're both creative. Oh, we're both creative.
Well, because we both have access to both sides of our brain. That's not what we're saying. We're saying what side do we use more? And with men, it's typically the left, and with women, it's typically the right, which is the creative. There's the logical, there's the creative. It goes along with women creating life. We are naturally just more creative. This is why we design. This is why we do some of the things that we do. We make a house, a home. It's that creativity in us that naturally does that. But it also it's a very it can be a very spiritual thing when it comes to religion, especially since we know that the womb is a portal from heaven to earth. That's how we have babies. That's why typically women tend to have more psychic abilities, different when it comes to spiritual gifts. The women take the cake with that typically because of that creative right side brain that sees in metaphors. When men typically will look at the word and see the literal, the logical. Women will take it and see it in metaphors, and not to say men can't do that as well, because we both do have access to both our left and right brain. It's just which side is more typically, which is the left for men and right for women. It's interesting. But
I don't know if I'm convinced.
sorry.
Uh,
Sorry about that loud sound.
Science has got us thus far externally. I think they still have a ways to go. I don't think the mind is meant, or the organs are meant for man to in-depthly be able to understand how it is functioning. It's bad. I know they can spend years upon years doing research. Absolutely. But to put a solid and a definite that they're using the left sides and the right sides of their brain based on studies, it's not determined that the reaction is coming from based on what you said. They're putting people in front of colors and doing studies based on what are we basing these studies off of? How are they determining it with their research? How does the data get inputted? What are they using to measure these besides the stenograph that you're just using the left side of your brain and the right side? Now I understand it's functioning and it has its properties, but
You know what I've seen?
no different to me.
You know what I've seen where they put, have you ever gotten a CAT scan or anything like that, or an MRI?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like something like that, where they put the head in and then they ask you a bunch of questions and they can see what parts of your brain fire off from my
Mhm.
all right. So good. I can't down. Get this.
Well, you ever seen a human with a third leg?
I don't know if I'm
That leg. I
Okay.
just
You were silly. I was like, wait, am I dirty? 'Cause
um
I was definitely going there.
yeah. But
That was
hmm,
fun.
okay. Yeah, I won't go into the personal aspects of it. I think there's a limit though to science, spirituality, and um nature and life.